This week on Supercars Torque, DJR confirms its new driver lineup, Kim Jones has decided to call it a day, and Triple Eight gets itself a new name. It doesn't look like Triple Eight are getting the super cheap sponsorship that's been rumoured recently, because they are going to now be known as the Red Bull Ampol Racing. No team on there, funnily enough. RBAR. Kind of similar to RBRA that they used to be. Red Bull Racing Australia. I can only assume that Ampol has stepped up on the budget stakes and will be taking over the space on the car that Holden used to have. For those who don't know as well, Ampol is Caltex essentially. They were just using the name and the license ran out for them to use the Caltex name. So they decided to bring back the Ampol name that is apparently very Australian. They've been running the Ampol branding since around middle of the year, and didn't know about this until it was said in the release, but Caltex, or now Ampol, has been Triple Eight's longest partner. It was on the car from the day dot when Triple Eight took over Briggs Motorsport back in the day. In what was one of the worst kept secrets in the paddock, Anton de Pasquale and Will Davison have finally been announced as the DJR No Team Penske driver lineup for 2021. Everything looked the same. They had the same shirts on that we saw Fabian and Scott wearing all year, so we can assume that Repco will be returning, and a few of the other brands like DXC Technology was still on there, so things don't look like they're changing there. And word out this recently is that Ludo is staying and looking forward to working with Anton and Will, that's really good news for the category in my opinion, because it means DJR, they're going to be designing the Mustang essentially for Gen 3. You would feel a lot more confident having Ludo there doing that job on the Ford side of the equation when Triple Eight is doing the Camaro, and they've got guys like Jeremy Moore who have been very involved in homologating Porsches overseas, and previously he would have been involved in probably the earlier Commodores, I would have thought, that Triple Eight did. So at least I would have been a bit nervous if Ludo was going, because is it going to be developed as good as the Camaro is? Yeah, but the confidence there is that both teams, that they've got the ability to develop the cars, and hopefully it means that we still get a level playing field in 2022. Some may argue the level field hasn't been quite equal the last couple of years, but at least it gives them both a similar kind of chance. Kim Jones, the non-driving side of Brad Jones' racing partnership, he has decided to call it a day. He's retiring and handing over his half of the team to his brother Brad. Not sure if any money's changing hands there or anything. And there's different rumours coming out of that team, whether they are trying to get a license to still run Macaulay next year, or whether they're just going to run the 3 cars. Don't know what's happening, but you cannot deny what these guys have achieved has been impressive. I know they don't like the term punching above their weight, but when you think, especially what they did in the Audi days was really good. They did have factory backing that, but to think of the teams that have come and gone over the years that have been similar-ish to those guys, but they've always ploughed along, built their own cars, done it from their Albury. Why can't I say Albury? They've done it from their Albury base, where everyone else has either kind of been Gold Coast or in Melbourne. They've just done it a little bit differently, and they've been going for a very long time. it's well deserved. I can only assume that maybe Andy Jones is going to step up a bit internally there to fill some of that void. Yeah, just a great job, Kim. Yeah, very impressed with what your team has done over a long term, and it's good to see that it will be continuing, even though you're going to enjoy your retirement. It looks like there's going to be some calendar shuffling over the next couple of years, with the shock announcement that the Adelaide 500 will not be continuing unless you vote, I think it's Labor, in the 2022 election, so maybe they're going to bring it back in 2023. As much as I love motorsport, if you're just voting for a party because they are making some, fairly baseless promise that they're going to bring back a race, maybe you need to look at the policies a bit more. The whole political thing these days seems to be a popularity contest anyway, so maybe try not to get into the whole political thing too much here. We can get into the Holden versus Ford battle, Anyway, so no Adelaide. We've got Bathurst starting the season next year, but then what starts at the year after? There is talk at the moment that Newcastle is going to sit out next year, and that's going to then become the opening round from 2022. And with a bit of a shift as well, the Gold Coast is going to be the finale for the next year, kind of moving forward, so that you get that big street event at one end of the calendar, big street event at the other end of the calendar, and we don't also have the mess where the champion kind of gets crowned at Bathurst while the Bathurst winners spraying the champagne, which was a little bit... just a little bit unfortunate, that one, because you're trying to celebrate Tander winning Bathurst and Scott McLaughlin winning the championship. Sorry, Shane, you also won Bathurst. Just get that little plug in there for Garth. So that's where it's headed at the moment. It's not doom and gloom like everybody is saying. Adelaide going is a very sad thing. When you think about it, though, that event had been going for just over 20 years. It's a long run for something like that. When it was first announced, if you said this is going to go on for 20 years, you wouldn't have thought it was going to happen. And when you think of some of the events that have come and gone since then as well, we've had Canberra, Homebush, Hamilton. All of those street races have come and gone in that period. Adelaide has done a brilliant job. It is good, though, that we probably got Newcastle and Gold Coast to bookend the season from 2022, because as much as people complain about the street events, I'm all for them. I think that's one of the things with our championship, that you do get a very good mix of the circuits. And you get guys who are really good on street circuits and guys on permanent circuits and things like that. You can't just specialize, say NASCAR. If you're good on ovals, that's all they do is ovals essentially. Whereas these guys, there's a little bit of difference in the circuits, so you've got to be good kind of everywhere rather than just focusing on one specialty. Super 2 is going to find themselves a seat on the Supercars Commission. This is actually a great thing, but once again, it's kind of half-assed. It's going to be like an alternate kind of seat thing where they can go and be involved in discussions, but they don't get to have a vote. I think if someone else is away, maybe they get to have a vote then, but it's a bit... At least they're going to be there and be able to do discussions on how it affects them. And I figured straight away, either Matt White or Ben Eggleston, they're the ones who are going to be on the commission because they run the biggest teams. No, it's actually Terry Wyhoon from Image Racing. He's going to be the main guy if he's not available. Amin Chada from running his Matt Charter's Amin's his father, the guy with spending the money. He's going to be the alternate if Terry's not available. And they're kind of, I suppose, Terry's got an affiliation with Erebus, but it's run a lot more privateer, I suppose, than it seems to be a lot more privateer kind of than, you know, the Egglestons or the Matt White Motorsports that seem to be nearly at that kind of main game kind of level, whereas these guys seem to be a bit more the old school kind of privateer buying second-hand cars and things like that. Good that they'll be involved in discussions because, you know, maybe they can pull some of the heads in on some of the stupid decisions and maybe get involved a bit so that they can bring costs down for their side of the ledger, which Super 2 definitely needs to bring the costs back somehow. And I think they need to do it in a hurry, especially if, you know, Gen 3 does come in and they are a hell of a lot cheaper, because Super 2 is going to be stuck running these super expensive Gen 2 cars. That's it for this week. I've had a bit of feedback from a couple of people accusing me of being a Holden fan because of the pictures behind me. As you can see there is Scott McLaughlin's Falcon. It's just unfortunate that I cover it up each day. I was a big HRT fan back in the old days, but my allegiances have kind of got a bit skewed over the years as certain drivers have kind of bounced around teams. So I wouldn't exactly call myself a Holden or Ford fan or Chev or Opel or Peugeot or whatever. And once again, I've had people commenting to me over the last couple of weeks that, they're not Holdens, blah, blah, blah. It's totally different. Ford builds a Mustang and Holden doesn't build it. Yeah, well, we know that, yeah, I've tried to explain that, you know, GM has different brand names all over the world, and when the ZB started, it was a GM company. It's just that it changed hands halfway through the contract and things like that. And to be honest, we probably didn't really bring in many ZBs that were built by Peugeot anyway, because no one was buying them, because who wants a front-wheel drive Commodore when you can go and buy, like, you know, a Mazda 6 or a Mondeo or Subaru Liberty or something like that for the same kind of money that's probably a better car. That's basically it. So until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll see you later.